So I want to talk about just human behaviour and psychology, buyer behaviour, and how that works, and kind of put that in the context of sales. I tend to work with mantras, because for me, what's important is that I can remember it, that it's very memorable. And so what I want to do is just go through a few of the mantras that we have in the business, and again, I really want to kind of attach this to a few things that Glenn said, that Kim said, that have been spoken about. The first thing we want when we've got a client, or really in any situation of persuasion, and really selling and sales is really about persuasion. It's about influence. What I want you to do is believe what I believe. What do I believe? I believe in organic farming. I believe in the benefit of my product. I believe in X, Y, and Z. And what I'm fundamentally wanting to do is move somebody from their position of belief to my position. It's about persuasion and influence. That's selling, fundamentally. Okay? And I'm going to, Renee, I'll get you to just stick these up on the wall if I can. So, the first thing we want to do is set this goal. We've got to have 5 goals. I'm kind of going to get to this idea of goals and how they drive behaviour, because Glenn raised it himself. But we also had Kim mention the elephant. Perception is reality. Right? We can fight against somebody else's perception, but as long as that's their perception, that is their reality. So our job is to influence. Again, you may as well stay up. Our job, I've only got 1 hour, and so I'm going to keep moving through these things. So often what happens is we get a bit frustrated. When we're trying to move somebody's position, we do a lot of telling. We do a lot of kind of speaking at people. And to try and change that perception, because it is their reality. So what we've got to do is try and influence that position, change that belief, and do it in a really positive, constructive and respectful way. And we can have all the knowledge in the world. And this room is incredibly knowledgeable. All right? I've been here for 3 hours. I understand about 25% of it. Okay? An enormous amount of knowledge. But knowledge itself is not going to move somebody from one position to the next. Pure and simple. You can put all the data on the table you want. As human beings, that's not how we make decisions. And so what happens is we end up with a very strong focus on us and what we know and our information, this build-up of knowledge. And when we're talking about selling, okay, and everybody sells, by the way, everybody sells. If there's a man in the room that's a husband, I guarantee you sell. I know that you do, okay? We all sell. Peter Drucker once said, nothing ever happened until somebody sold something. It's about influence and persuasion. We see it as a bit of a negative because there's a lot of negative sales practices out there, pushy salespeople, people that don't deliver on promise. What I want to do is just get you really clearly focused on what great salespeople do. All right? First and foremost, it's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about your farm. It's not about your product. What happens is we build up this amazing knowledge. We've got all this data that you guys are carrying around in this room is amazing. But it's kind of irrelevant until I can put it in a position that matters to the buyer or that matters to the politician that I'm trying to influence. Thanks for all that information, but it's not about you. All that data, all that knowledge, soil, triangles, all that I just heard, that's fantastic. But when it comes to migrating somebody's decision making, somebody's buying habit, or getting them to move to my position of belief, it's not about you. Who's it about? Them. Right? And what we spend a lot of time doing is talking about us. And what probably happens for a lot of people when they get into a sales situation or a sales environment, or in a situation where you're trying to persuade a group of people or a person to your position, is we start to kind of talk to them about us and tell them about us. Tell them about organic. Tell them. Right? But it's not about us, it's about them. Okay? And so I wanted to kind of come back to the point that Kim made. Is Kim in the room? Where's Kim? Kim made a great point. Kim's a coach. Right? In coaching, and coaching is like sales. Sales and coaching are actually very similar. You would recognise this. In coaching, we ask, we don't tell. Right? If we want to persuade somebody to our position, we don't tell them stuff, we ask them. We need to understand. First, if we want to solve a problem, we have to diagnose that problem. If we haven't done the diagnosis, I can't possibly prescribe a solution. If I'm the doctor, when you come into my office, I don't want to walk through the door and he goes, hey, you're carrying a bit of weight. I think you need some diabetes pills, son. What's the first thing that happens when I go into the doctor's office? Blood pressure? Come on, we've got a bunch of middle-aged men in this room. What do they do when you go to the doctor? Take your blood pressure, maybe put you on the scales, ask you a few questions, don't they? Family history, diet, exercise. You never go into a situation with a professional, consultant, an architect. You don't walk in and they go, you know what you need? 6 stories in a gym. You go into the architect and what do? They start asking you questions. What are your needs? What are you looking to achieve? What are your goals? How much money have you got to spend? You're qualified. But I ask a lot of questions. What I don't do is tell them something. Until I've defined the challenges, what the problems I'm looking to solve are, understand that person's motivations, their drivers, what they're trying to achieve in life, I can't possibly provide a solution. I'm throwing shit at the wall and hoping some of it sticks. Right? So what we've got to do is understand, first diagnose and then prescribe. So we don't want to tell, we want to ask. And the first mistake a lot of people make when they're trying to influence people or move them to a position is they start to tell. Let me tell you all about the benefits of organic. Let me tell you about my farm. Let me tell you about this or that. Right, what I'm saying to you is what we need to do is we come first from ask. Let me understand what you're trying to achieve before I start to provide a solution to you. Right? And that starts to completely change how we view the challenge of either moving somebody to my position of thought, whether it's influencing decision makers and where they want to go and achieve from a global perspective or a government perspective. It's all the same problem. What's motivating? What are they trying to achieve? What are their goals? Okay. Because, and this kind of came up from Glenn, and what was really nice in each of the presentations, you've got this attachment really to some of these key thoughts. Goals drive behaviour. Glenn said, change is going to be driven by their goals. Change is going to be driven by the goals that you have. Well, those goals are going to drive your behaviour. So if we can understand the goals of our target, the person that we're looking to influence or persuade, then we can start to understand how we can apply the features of our business, you know, kind of all those advantages that organic farming may have, and then we can start to apply those features, those great things that we have to that challenge that person, to their goals, help them achieve their goals. Because those goals are what's going to drive their behaviour. You can't force that. You can't kind of shove a square peg into a round hole. What we want to do is we want to make sure that what we're doing is fitting our offer. We're not going to change ourselves. We're just going to make sure that the way that we articulate who we are and what we are matches up with the goals of that particular individual or the organisation. If we're going counter to that, we simply create kind of competition, if you will. So goals drive behaviour. So what we want to do is understand what the goals of the buyer, if it's a buyer that you're looking to influence. It could be the local PTA, it could be a political scenario. What are the goals? What are they trying to achieve? My aim is to figure out how I can help them achieve their goals. And the reason I need to do that is because we buy on emotion, we justify with logic. And if you kind of think about what often we hear, is there's a lot going on with the logic of this conversation that we've had today. Okay, and that's right, because that's the room we're in. But if I was to take this out into a sales situation as an organic farmer, if I was going to take this into the situation of kind of a political movement and moving somebody, you know, position in that regard, where it's the local PTA, and I'm trying to get them to agree with where I'm headed, I can spend a lot of time on logic, okay, but that's not what we buy on. The way that we make decisions is very emotional. It happens emotionally, and then we find that we'll justify that with logic. And I know this because if you think about the car you drive, if you think about where you live, and even the lifestyle that you've chosen to undertake is going to be very much based on emotion. You might have discovered a farm. The reason you bought the farm, I can guarantee the first thing that happened was you fell in love with it. And then you said, oh, by the way, the water's good, the location's good, the schools are good, etc. Does that sound true? When you thought about a car, you go, I'm organic. I'm about being eco-friendly. So suddenly you go, the emotion is I want to deliver on that. Yeah? Then you go, yeah, and it's only $13,000. It's only got so many Ks on it, right? My emotion drives the decision. And you could do this for just about anything, from the food you eat to the clothes you buy. We buy on emotion, we justify with logic. So our job is, what happens is we get very locked into this logic. There's a lot, you guys have got an enormous amount of data. I've already heard so many data points I've lost track. Like, there's an enormous amount of fact behind what you do. But what we can get locked into is selling or trying to move somebody's position based on purely the logic, rather than making sure that we're getting an emotional connection there. Making sure that what they're doing is they're locking in emotionally to what we're talking about. Because until that occurs, they don't buy it. You can throw all the logic you like. I mean, the world's proof of it right now. As I sit and listen to these things, I'm like, it blows my mind when you think about all the logic that sits behind this. But how are we making decisions? I mean, globally, if you think, I don't want to get too political, stand up there. You think globally how decisions are being made right now. Does it sit above or below that line? Seriously.
Well, the third one is that they're not making decisions.
Yeah, maybe. But I guarantee people are being voted in emotionally. It's fear-based. Or whatever the case may be, it's this first, this is coming very secondary. It justifies this one. Okay? And that happens in sales. So we've got to make sure that what we're doing is focusing on the goals of that buyer or that user or that individual and connecting with what their goals are. Because when we start to deliver on that, when we start to achieve their goals for them and help them move in that direction, make them feel good, that's when we start to sell. That's when we're going to be successful. So, when I get up here, I lose all course of time. So, there are 4 reasons people buy. Or another way to put that is there are 4 reasons people don't buy. Does anyone care to throw a few ideas out there? Why do we make buying decisions? What are the key ingredients for you to buy something from somebody? Price. We've got to have, we don't have the money, doesn't matter how much you love it, it's not going to get purchased. Is that fair? Another way to look at that is financial motivation. I kind of call that. It might be the savings that you're going to achieve motivate you to make that buying decision. You've always wanted one now. Today it's 70% off, so holy smokes, I'll do it. There's a financial motivation. What else is necessary to buy off something? You think about buying that car or buying the house. Sorry? Social status is a cool one. That comes into, and we should talk about this. Has anyone heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Yeah? We're going to talk about needs, and I put that in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'll explain. That's absolutely true. It's actually a human need. All right? So what we do have to have is a need. If your car's running perfectly well, fuel economy is good, no breakdowns, hasn't cost you anything servicing, you own it outright, are you going to buy a new car? I have no need. Equate that to the same with the financial. If I don't have the money for it, it doesn't matter. Even if my car breaks down and the engine blows up, if I don't have a penny to my name, I'm not making a purchase. Okay, I've got to have those 2 things. And when it comes to need, there's 3 things that we're going to talk about. That's because that was a really good point. What else do we want to do? Speaking of cars, thank you. Reputation, trust. Right? What we want to do is we need to have trust. And I think NASAA and the organic industry is in a fantastic position to have that almost sewn up from Word Doc. What you would all do very, very well is build trust in your product and fundamentally in your brand. I think people would feel very comfortable buying from it. Would everyone agree with that? Yeah? We can continue to work on it. We'll talk about how you do that, but it's a really important component of trust. You're not going to make a purchase of somebody you just flat out don't trust. Would you agree? Yep. And what's the last? What's another reason to make a decision? Or a necessary component? Want kind of feels underneath, fits under here, and we'll kind of put that into Maslow's, because want becomes about kind of desire and, I want it because it makes me look good. I want it because I've got a social status.
Accessibility? No, can't get it.
Yeah, scarcity. I'm going to talk about scarcity. I love scarcity. It's a very powerful buying motivator. Okay? And issue becomes this. One is time. Right? I don't have time. So I have to be. Another way to put there is there's no hurry or there's no urgency for it. Okay? If it's not urgent, if it's not time specific, then I can push it aside and I can make that buying decision later. It's not a priority right now. You might approach the market with your product and they go, look, yeah, we love the idea of organic. I think it's awesome. I personally eat everything organic. We just don't have time to look at that right now. Yeah, now's not the right time. Has anyone heard that? Had that approach? Now's not the right time. So we've also got to have a time specific, or the other way to put that is why now? If you're going to approach somebody to sell your product, the question is why should they act now? Why should they do that now? We've got, I mean, what a classic example of pushing the problem down the road we have, right? If you think about a buying decision globally or nationally on organics, what they're able to do, or what's currently happening and driving people bonkers, is they keep pushing. They go, it's not a priority right now. It's not. There's no urgency to it. Now, a lot of people are starting to see that urgency, but on a kind of national buying, if you think about it as a purchase, they're going, not enough people are saying it's urgent, fundamentally. And so whilst this works on a micro level, on a buying perspective, to buy individual products or to sell contracts or your beef or your bananas or whatever the case may be, it also it scales up to be a case of how people think and are motivated to make decisions. Okay? And these four things, the four reasons people buy or don't buy, are like batteries to be charged. Okay? So if you think about turning over the key in the car, the flatter these batteries are, the less chance you've got of starting that sale or getting a sale. The flatter these are, the less chance you've got of influencing somebody to make a decision in your direction. If you think about it, if they don't have enough reason to trust you, that's a flat battery. It's going to be very hard to get the sale or motivate somebody to move their position, to believe what you believe, if they don't trust you. So what's my job to do then? Is to charge that battery. This is a great little filter to put your business through. What I would say to you is have a look at your business and ask you, how do you build trust with your customer base? How do you give evidence of your trustworthiness? Referrals, testimonials, Kim mentioned case studies, word of mouth, social media. How are you presenting that evidence of what you do? And how fully charged are you keeping those batteries of trust? What NASAA is doing is trying on a national level to build this trust and demonstrate through authority why we should be trusted. So I've got to fill that battery up and keep maintaining it. Every time I have a customer, get a written testimonial. Every time I have a happy customer in this day and age, get them to go on video and put it on your LinkedIn. Yeah? Hey, yeah, I just had an interaction with Fig Trees Farms. Amazing product, love it. And post it on LinkedIn. Post it on your Instagram account. What we're doing is we're building this message out there. We're fully charging this battery. We need to let the world know. Get it shared. All right? The next one is need. And a quick move away from need is we've basically got, I always look at these three needs that we're trying to address. You've got, if you're selling to, who are we selling to in this room? Who's your customer? Coles, Woolies, abattoirs, who's the customer? Wholesalers? General public? Perfect. Okay. General public is going to be very much about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's a human need. The strongest need that we have is what? Anyone that's done Maslow's before? Strongest need? Food, security. Food and water. Food and water comes first, and then we need a roof over our head. If you think about these are basic human needs. These are very strong motivators. If we've got that cyclone heading towards Cairns, what does the fresh water shelf look like in Cairns at the supermarket? It's been emptied off, hasn't it? We buy on emotion, we justify with logic. What's the emotion involved? Fear. Yeah? And so we're going to go in and we're going to clean that shelf off. It's such a basic human need, people will walk over one another for them. I fly internationally a little bit. I'm always amused by the fact I'm going through that safety briefing, because if we start going down, the odds of everyone calmly moving to those doors, I think, is just ridiculous. Right? It's just going to be animals. It just is. We buy an emotion. It's a basic human need. Next, we need security. A roof over our heads. Yeah, clothing to cover us, a roof over our head. We don't want to be attacked by lions or other things. The insurance industry used to sell a lot on this.
I think from NASAA's perspective, this becomes about food security, it becomes about securing your family, right? You start to get into this. Then you've got social. We need love. Family, yeah, love, a social group. If you want to drive somebody insane, put them in solitary confinement for a while and see what happens. Basic human needs. And when we come to sell to an individual, we very much work off triggering these human needs. Social becomes important. I can imagine social, if I lived in Byron, if I live in Lismore, there's a much bigger social driver around my diet and what I'm buying. Would that be fair to say? And then I may be, in fact, we were just talking at lunchtime about farmers and how we've got the regeneration idea, and that in some areas, and I know in Nil, if I was going back and I brought Kim over there, we might have socially, they might think we've gone a bit nuts. And there would be quite a bit of social pressure to stick with the norm. Would that be fair to say? Yeah. And then you're seen as a bit of an outsider if you go down a different path. There's a social pressure. But we need it as human beings. Then we have self-esteem. And I think again what comes up here for you guys is self-actualisation. I want to be the best that I can be. And I think you would find a lot in our family and a lot of people that being consumers of organic products is about being the best that I can be. Yeah, I know it's the best for the environment, I know it's the best for me, and that's what I'm fulfilling. The human need that I'm fulfilling is to be my best me. Okay? So these motivators, this is Maslow, are really powerful drivers for people. And so if I'm talking about selling to a consumer, I'm going to be very focused on Maslow's hierarchy of needs and those 4 reasons people don't buy. Okay? The other one you'll get is if I'm dealing with commercial, so if we're dealing with commercial, we're dealing with a wholesaler, that wholesaler has just basic commercial requirements. And those commercial requirements will have them doing one of 3 things. They are looking to fix, avoid, or accomplish an outcome. They may be looking to fix something that's broken. They've got a supplier that isn't working. They've got a supply chain that's not working. They've got products that their consumers are not happy with. What is the problem that you can help them fix? Or they may be looking to accomplish a particular outcome. What they want to do is move to organic or a healthier option, or to expand their range. Or I can imagine in the organic space, as with us, it's more profitable. If I'm dealing with a wholesaler, I'm going to be focused on accomplishing a better profit for their organisation. What are their commercial goals? This one, Maslow's, is very hard to ask somebody about. They're probably not going to tell you. Commercially, you can sit down with a wholesaler, anyone in your customer base who's a commercial business, and start to have conversations about what their goals are. What are you looking to fix? What are you looking to avoid? Yeah, we don't want to be seen as using too much packaging in this day and age. I don't want to be seen as being damaging to the environment. What are you looking to accomplish? I want to be more profitable. I want to be more contemporary. I want to have a succession plan. Whatever that is, what we want to do is understand what those drivers are. We're not going to tell them, we're going to ask them. What's their business about? Because then what I want to do is take all the features of my great business and apply it to that need. Until I understand what their needs are, I don't have a sales pitch. Otherwise, you're just stating facts. You could send somebody to your website. There you go. You don't need to talk to me. Go to the website and read it. Do you think websites sell? They're an information. What does a website do? It can help do this. Fundamentally, what it can do is it can help build trust. But people buy from people. Okay? People buy on emotion, they justify with logic. People buy from people. And all of this room are in an amazing position to sell to their market because you've got such an authentic pitch. You've got this genuineness to what you do, a holistic approach to what you do that's incredibly attractive. Okay? So the worst thing that you could do is avoid this interaction. What you want to do is get very personal when it comes to customers and trying to sell. All right? And then, so this is fix, avoid, or accomplish. And then lastly, none of us operate in isolation. We all work with other stakeholders. If I'm selling to a wholesaler, who else is in there? Who are the other stakeholders in the wholesaler's business? You've got the owner, you've got customers, you've got staff. How does using you or engaging you in their supply chain affect their other stakeholders? And I want to know. Tell me about what your customers are looking for. What's the feedback from customers? What's the demographic of your market here look like? What are they looking to achieve? Yeah, what's important to them? And so I start to ask questions not only about the person I'm talking to, but about others in their circle of influence. What's happening in their family? If I'm talking to a personal consumer, how does buying organic affect others in the family? How do they think about it? How do they feel about it? All right? So these are the needs I focus on. This personal, this human need, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I look at the commercial need. Okay? If I was to go and sell to Fig Trees Farms, what I'm going to start to do is ask questions about what are the goals of Glenn? What are you wanting to achieve? What's the 1-year plan? What's the 5-year plan? How does what I do as a wholesaler of herbs and spices potentially add value to your business? That's my focus. Once I understand what you're trying to achieve, how you feel about the world, how you feel about wholesalers, how you feel about suppliers, what you're trying to do, what your commercial goals at the farm are, then I would start to give you a sales pitch, and not until then. Because all I want to do is take all the great features of my business and apply it very specifically to your need. It's very targeted. This is why it's really important if you don't and you haven't segmented your target market. I hope you have, but you should have a focus on a couple of key vertical markets that you're looking for. Mine them out first. The better you know your customer, the better you can target that approach and your sales and marketing materials. So we've got these 3 needs. And that helps charge these batteries. There's 4 reasons people don't buy. And if you do nothing else, stick this up on your wall. If you're going through sales and marketing conversations in the business, then have this as a part of your conversation. Have a look at your website, have a look at your sales and marketing materials and say, in those materials, how am I building trust? If I'm sending a letter to somebody and I want to influence them, am I considering how I demonstrate the reason they should trust me? But I'm also am I cognizant and thinking about what their goals are and what they're trying to achieve? Because as soon as I start moving away, or the direction I'm heading is different to theirs, it's over. I need to take them with me on the journey. All right? So these are the 4 reasons people buy, or another way to put it, is it's 4 reasons people don't buy. It's really interesting in sales and in business. When you're successful, people are very happy to tell you why they bought from you. Oh, actually, we thought the product's great. We love you guys. It's awesome. If you don't win a customer, they're not very good at telling you why. Anyone here lost a customer recently or gone to bid on a piece of business and didn't get it? Anyone? You're very lucky. Yeah? And so what was the response you got from the customer as to why you didn't get it?
Sometimes it's a rate. I'll go, you go.
Yeah?
Generally price.
Thanks. Yeah?
Quite often the customers don't actually tell you, but
Correct.
usually I come away thinking that I've talked too much.
Thank you.
Doing exactly the wrong thing.
Yeah. We do a lot of telling rather than asking. And it's a great example that you just give, because one of 2 things happens. Our clients don't tell us, and so you don't know why you didn't win that piece of business. And it's very hard to say to somebody, you know what, I didn't feel it. I didn't trust you. You talked too much. I got bored in the first 15 minutes, and I clocked out, and you just kept talking. As human beings, we're very nice to other human beings, generally, right? I don't want to hurt your feelings. So I probably, at the end of the meeting, I shake your hand, and you walk away feeling pretty good about it. And then it just slowly disappears. They stop returning calls, or it just drops off. What I call going dark. Or they've made a buying decision for a bunch of other reasons, but the easiest way for me to articulate that to you is to say it's your price. Because for the same reason, it's very hard as a person to say to another person, you just kind of set off my spidey sense. I just wasn't getting it. Are you ever going to say that to somebody? No.
Easy way out.
Yeah. Well, when you walk into a shop, you've got a wedding, and you ladies, you need a new dress, or men, you've got to go and get a shirt and tie, and you walk into that shop, and the shop assistant walks up and says, "Can I help you?" What do you say?
Just looking.
You liar! Right? Why? I find it hard to articulate that to that person and go, no, actually, I just really feel uncomfortable when you're trying to sell me something. So the easiest thing I can do is go, I'm just looking. If I'm the buyer, the easiest thing I can do is to go, your price is out, mate. Or, I just don't have time to look at this right now. And so it's hard to tell. So the reason I say it's the 4 reasons people don't buy is because you send yourself back to the drawing board. Look at that case where you got the no and start to assess it and go, okay, where did I go wrong? All right, which of these did I start to fall short of? If I was to rate myself out of 10 against those 4 areas, how well do I build trust? 1 to 10, 10 being great. How well do I understand my target market's needs? What really motivates them and drives them? And am I targeting my message to those needs? Give yourself a rating, 1 to 10. How's my financial motivation? Am I clearly articulating why my price is where it should be? Right? We had a conversation on price earlier that came up. You know, where should that price be? Well, the more that you meet need, the stronger you build that trust, and the more reason you give them to act now, the higher that price can be. Okay? So these things come into play. And lastly, we've got that one of act now. What I would say to you is if the person coming to you for that proposal or that deal, if they could get the same deal in 6 months' time, well, why should they do it today? Or if I could come to you on your farm and I get the same deal in 12 months' time, well, why should I do it today? And the answer is I don't have to, because I know I can just wait. The same deal will be there in 6 months or 12 months. So you need to make sure that there's a time-specific reason for somebody to act now. Right? It might be legislative change, it could be the product, it could be the timing, it could be scarcity of product. What's your reason for them to act now? Okay? Because often what we're not doing is articulating well enough why somebody should make a decision now. And so, and how are we doing? Oh, there you go, power's on. We're just about good. 10. I'm going to very quickly go through these, but I'll get you to just Google this one. This is by Dr. Robert Cialdini. And he did the 6 Pillars of Persuasion. So this is around buyer behaviour or human behaviour when it comes to persuasion. There are 6 basic ways in which we're persuading. Scarcity is such a strong one. This is about this reason to act now. Scarcity is what happens when the cyclone's coming. Yeah? We act. We've got this fear. We leverage a human behaviour. Who's heard of FOMO? Anyone want to tell me what that means? Fear of missing out. We want to leverage that human behaviour, which is one of the strongest. Often, you know, when I started in sales, I've been doing it for about 25 years. I kept going to sales training courses, and I just was looking for that great tip that made it easy. Now, I never found it, but this is about as close as I got. If I was to tell you that if I owned a lemonade stand, yeah, and somebody said, Chris, 51% of the time when people walk out of a room, they turn right. Where would I put my lemonade stand? On the right. It's human behaviour, right? It's psychology. This stuff is just human behaviour. How do we as people react and respond to other people? When it comes to scarcity, it is touching on that very basic human behaviour of scarcity, that fear of missing out. It's that we've got unlimited wants but limited resources, okay? And so by creating scarcity, even if you've got to create the perception of scarcity, it really drives that human behaviour, okay, of acting now. Because what you want to do is say, you need to see me now, you need to act now. And so we create scarcity, okay? So it's a very powerful tool. You guys will have limited stock, limited quantity, limited time, limited, right? You should never have an offer to the market that can be acted upon now in 3 months or 6 months. You should always be positioned as you've got a limited time to act on this, or things will change. Okay? Reciprocity is about give a little to get a little. Sampling, people do that in sampling. In retail food, you'll get samples. That's called reciprocity. I give you a little bit to get a little bit back. When you give something for free, you effectively get credit in the bank. Right? It might be a little bit of credit. That little bit of credit might get the phone answered next time you need to call. That little bit of credit might get an email responded to. And you have an amazing ability to offer reciprocity through insight. You have an incredible knowledge in this room. What you can share is information. And those insights and that information is really powerful. If I was dealing with your customer base in this room, what I can offer for free is knowledge and insight. And that's really powerful and it's valuable to people. So offer that reciprocity. Give it away. When you give away that knowledge, what we'll get back is a little bit of credit in the bank for you. Be consistent. You should always be consistent and make sure you get consensus. If you're dealing with a customer, get consensus. Would you agree with that? Would you agree? Yes. Organic's good. It's good for the health. Would you agree? Yes. You can be more profitable. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. Continue to constantly get consensus and be consistent. You need to be likeable, but I think you're all a lovely bunch of people, so I don't think that'll be a problem. All right? You are an authority figure. Now, I would say to you, have a look at the Milgram. Anyone heard of the Milgram experiments in the 60s? I bet if I describe it to you, you'll know it. It's where he hooked them up to some electrodes and they got to ask questions. And there was a person in the other room. And if they got the question wrong, they would give them an electric shock. And as it went, and as they got them wrong, the electric shock kept going up and up and up until fatal. And what Milgram proved that is, if an authority gives you a direction, most people will follow that direction. About 68% of people took that to fatal. It's a human behaviour, all right? I'm not going to ask you to shock anyone or kill them, but what you can do is your authority on the subject gives you that power in conversation. Leverage that authority and leverage that knowledge to move a sale forward. But it's really powerful. Social proof in this day and age is easy and it's really important. What social proof will do for you through LinkedIn, Instagram, etc., is going to build this awareness in the market and it helps build your trust factor. Okay, there's 4 reasons people don't buy. One of them is trust. Use your social proof. My other wholesale clients have had this experience. Yeah, other retailers have had this experience. This is the profit they're able to return. This was the improvement in their processes. Keep telling the stories. Keep delivering social proof as to how and why you're succeeding where you are. And with the tools we've got in this day and age, it's a little bit easier to do. Okay? So keep communicating that message. Social proof is really important. If you think about it, I could tell you to go and see a movie and it's not going to mean much to you. If your wife or mother or brother told you to go and see a movie, it's probably going to be a little bit more influential, isn't it? If an expert on the subject suggests it to me, more so again. Okay? So what we do is the closer that this credibility and this social proof comes to other clients, this is why you focus on a vertical market. When you give credibility, make sure you quote other people, the experiences they're having that are closely related to your target market. Okay? That social proof is important. And finally, scarcity. I'll only say this. It's about as close as I get to that 51% of people turn right. If you want to get a reaction, just let somebody know that deal's about to close. I don't want you to, just say that. Go, hey, the window's closing. I don't want you to miss out. Can I get 15 minutes of your time? And see what happens. All right? I think what you'll see is a really quick response. As human beings, we have a fear of missing out. It's a really powerful tool. All right? So I can only recommend that you get into those 6 pillars of persuasion. But Google them. Others will do a better job online of animating that and telling you that story. But between those 2 things, the 4 reasons people don't buy and the 6 pillars of persuasion, if you can have a look at those and how you can incorporate those in your sales and marketing plans, but even into your product development and the like, because really, your product development is going to be based on what your target market is after. Would that be correct? Yeah? I mean, is anyone developing product and then going to create the market? Or are we kind of, there's a market there? Is that fair? So let's make sure we understand what our target market is after, what their needs are, what their motivators and drivers are. And then when we establish our sales and marketing plan, it is super focused on what those needs are. What it does for the owner of that wholesale business, what it does for that retailer, what it does for that consumer. How does that help them achieve their goals in business, in life? What does it do for them socially? Yeah? How does it make them feel? Because they are going to buy on emotion. They'll justify it by saying, well, it's organic, it's the right price, they're great farmers, we trust them. The product's second to none. Once they've made that decision, and you've been able to achieve those goals, and they'll start to justify why you're the best decision there is. But it comes from you understanding them first. First of all, you come from the client's perspective. It is not about you. It's about them. And all of your knowledge is wildly important, but only as it's applied to getting people to uptake it. Because you can do all that. If they're not going to buy it, if you can't persuade people to that position, well, you're just going to be in a very limited position for a long time. We want to get it out there and sell it well. And to do that, have these 10 things. The 4 reasons people don't buy, and the 6 pillars of persuasion, and try and incorporate them into your sales and marketing plan and into your conversations. When you sit around a room, if you've got partners, friends in the business, managers, and you sit down and you go, what's happening with that customer? They're doing this or that. Have those 10 things on a wall somewhere and go, well, how can we impact that? How can we influence it? How can we improve our offer? We've got 4 reasons people will buy. What's happening with our price? Why should they buy off us right now? Why should they trust us? What problems are we solving for them? What do they value? And how am I helping fulfill that need? All right? And I think that's going to be my time, surely.
Thanks, guys. I could go on forever.